Hi everyone. So today I'm in the hospital and I don't actually have a lot of time to do a fancy video. So I decided to just record something kind of quickly uh, to keep the thread going and keep the information going for you. So I decided to read some of the comments. Many of these comments are in Portuguese, so bear with me while I translate them and comment on them or answer them for you. So if you made a question before, perhaps it's your time now to get that answered on video. So let's start here. The first comment that I'm going to see is somebody is asking about the taxes. It's on the video about doctor salaries in Canada, and somebody asking about taxes, saying that without the taxes, it's kind of an illusion, and that's very, very true. So just so you know, I pay about 47% of what I take for myself in taxes. Uh, the good things, though, is that you can have a corporation, leave the money that you don't need in your corporation, and pay only 15% in taxes. That being said, you do pay taxes once you get the money out of the corporation to use for yourself. Yeah, so that's definitely good information. So you can cut those salaries that I told you about in about half if you're going to take everything out. So someone is saying, I'm going to the third year in medical school. I always wanted to work outside of the country, especially in Canada or Australia as a doctor. Um, so it's kind of a comment, not really a question. What I would say is that if that's what you want to do, you need to start preparing right now. So start thinking about your electives outside of the country during medical school because that's the time that you can do electives and there's a lot more opportunity to do hands-on stuff in the United States, in Canada. I'm not sure in Australia, but I believe it should be similar. So you can have letters of recommendation and you can use these letters of recommendation to apply for residency later on. If you don't have letters of recommendation, if you don't have any sort of clinical experience in the country where you want to go to, it's a lot harder. So another question here, is there a lot of prejudice against black and mixed doctors in Canada? I would say no, there isn't a lot of prejudice. I think Canada is one of the most open places you can come to. Is there some racism? Yes, there is some racism. There is some racism everywhere. There are racist people. Um, I'm not going to go into the whole institutionalized racism, yes or no. Uh, you're going to come across people that are going to be nasty. Uh, send them on their way. But in general, I think Canada is a great place. Um, in that sense. Like there isn't really a lot of prejudice against being from abroad, against being black, against being Chinese or Asian, etc. So let's keep looking here. Somebody's asking about going for medical school in Canada. I think I already made a video about that. I will put the link somewhere. Um, the truth is, going to medical school in Canada as a foreigner is very hard. First, you're going to need some other sort of university degree or degree or college before you can even apply for medical school in Canada. And medical school is a professional degree, so you do after 3 or 4 years of something else. Second, it's extremely competitive. Um, like for Canadians, it takes about 3 years to be able to get in. It's also more expensive than in Brazil. So it might not be the best option. If you're excellent academically, you only get like A pluses, and your average is like 95% and above, then perhaps it's for you. Oh, and you have to have money. All right. So somebody's asking, can you talk about the differences between medical residency in Brazil and in Canada? Hmm, that's interesting. So I did different residencies in Brazil and in Canada. In Canada, I did a critical care residency after doing internal medicine, and I did a critical care fellowship. I did internal medicine in the United States, and then I did surgery in Brazil. So these are all different types of residency. What I can say between residency in Brazil and Canada that's different? Well, in both of them, you work a lot. Perhaps here I worked less, but then there is a difference between being a more senior resident and also not being in surgery anymore. There are some residencies where you work like a dog here. Surgery is definitely one of them. Neurosurgery, you work a lot as a resident. definitely more than 80 hours a week. I would say it's not uncommon for surgical specialties to do that. I did that in internal medicine. Perhaps not in the first year. The first year was a little more protected, but afterwards we did work a lot. One big difference is the salary. You can actually sustain a family here in Canada with your salary. I guess another difference is that perhaps you are more valued in general because you already went to medical school. It's so hard to go to medical school. There is this idea that if you're a doctor, if you're smart, so there is a value that comes with that. But otherwise, you're a trainee. Here or in Brazil, it doesn't matter. Um, oh, there's a comment here about the video that I made about spots that go unfilled, and somebody found that it was strange that there were two spots for radiology um, that were left. Um, what I can tell you about that is this: when there are spots that are not filled, it doesn't mean that nobody applied for those spots, right? It just means that even with the people that applied, they didn't want to get those people. They'd rather leave those spaces open. Now, I think it does tell you something. It tells you that once you hit a certain level, your competition goes down by a lot, right? So if there were two spots in radiology at that year, I think that was 2019, they were left unfilled for IMGs, and there were only two spots apparently for IMGs. I'd have to check about that. I don't remember it from the top of my head. That probably means that there were some people wanting it, but they did not hit that minimum threshold to get in. Okay, another question. Hello, Marcello. I've been following your channel. Thank you for the information. So that's a medical student, second semester in a public university in Brazil. Wants to come to Canada. Person who wants to come, make some money. Well, actually wants to work in Brazil, make some money, and then redo medical school here. So I just spoke about medical school. I don't think that's the best idea. I think it's a much better idea that you either get ready and do an elective here. I know it's money. I know you have to spend money to do that, and not everybody can. The other option is actually go to residency in Brazil, work for some time. The residency is actually considered work when you apply for your visa to come, or your permanent resident card. Sorry. So do that and then come here as a fellow. Just take a look which specialties are friendlier, because not every specialty is friendly for that. All right. Somebody's asking, what is the best moment for an observership? Now. Well, not now, because now we are through COVID, but whenever you can. So here is the long-winded answer to that. The best moment for an observership is when it's a good moment to ask for letters of recommendation. So I would say summer, right? Because then you start applying around October, November, and then you already have people will remember you. You can you can ask for those letters of recommendation. So I'd say in that sense, the best time for an observership is around summertime, which is probably the best time to come to Canada anyway. Somebody wants a video talking about the general idea of how to do medical residency here. I think we have videos like that. You can definitely look at just a second, I'll tell you um, how to get your medical diploma or medical degree here. And well, perhaps I don't have one specifically about residency. Well, we'll do a video about medical residency. You have to go through CARMS. So the answer is you have first to get all your stuff on physiciansapply.ca, and that by stuff you mean your medical degree, your school grades, the school transcript. You have to get all of that translated through through physiciansapply.ca. Once you have all of that, you have to apply through CARMS, get your to apply for residency. To apply to CARMS, you also need your MCCQE1. You have to pass on that. Even better, you have to have good grades on that. to 80 would be great. And you have to pass the National Assessment Collaboration, which is a standardized patient test or a hands-on type of test, although I think they're doing that virtually now. And with the NAC, the MCCQE1, all your documents are already translated and verified by physiciansapply.ca. Then you apply to CARMS and come for interviews, hopefully, and get a spot. That easy. No, it's not. Okay. Is there a way to have my medical degree validated even if my school is not in the world director of medical schools? No, unfortunately there is not, unless it happens at some point and their school is recognized. It has to be there. How do I get a supervisor for a master's? That's a great question. So I would say that first you have to figure out what is it you want to research, what is the area, and then for masters often you can apply without having identified a supervisor. It's always good, however, to go through the schools that you're applying to and see who does research similar to what you want to do or in the area that you want to do. And then you can email that person and tell them what is it that you want to research for a master's and see if that would be a good fit. So even if it's not concrete when you come for an interview, if they call you for an interview, you at least can say, oh, you know what, there is this person and this person who do work similar to what I want to do, and they would be great supervisors. If they already have accepted it, you can actually tell in the interview somebody, this person actually accepted me as their mentee, and they're going to be my mentor. Okay, let's see another question. Is there an age limit to apply for residency in Canada? Nope, there isn't an age limit. I've seen doctors with 40 plus or who are 40 plus years old getting into residency after they've been practicing their country for some time. Usually these doctors are already permanent residents here in Canada, and then they apply. So there is no age limit. It's always good to have been getting some sort of education, right? It's much easier to get in if you've been in residency and you've been doing fellowships and you haven't been just practicing for a very long time. But again, it's definitely not impossible. I've met people like that more than once. Okay, let's see. Is there some sort of eligibility criteria to get an observership or a fellowship? The answer is it depends. Yes, for the fellowship, for most places, you're going to have to get a medical license, which is an education license, and that license comes with some strings attached, right? You have to send them something from Brazil showing that you don't have anything against you, you don't have any complaints and things like that. You have to get a not only the medical background, but also a criminal background check. And you have to apply as if you're applying for a medical license, although you can only really work as a trainee. For the observership, a few provinces will require that you apply for a permit for an observership. The nice thing about those provinces, which in my mind that I can remember is British Columbia and Nova Scotia, is that when you're doing that, you're actually considered to either be like a final year medical student or they recognize that you are an international medical graduate and therefore you can do stuff. You can talk to patients, you can assist in procedures sometimes. It works more like an elective than an observership. So in these provinces, again, British Columbia and Nova Scotia, you have to apply for an observership permit. In other provinces, it's a lot more informal and you do not have to apply. The hospital that you're going to, if you're going to a hospital, or the doctor who you're going to work with might ask you for something, but as a general rule, observership is an informal thing. Fellowship is a formal thing. You have to get a license. There's somebody asking about dermatology. The dermatology in Brazil, what's the best way to do residency in the United States? Great question. I think doing residency in the United States is a great step if you want to come to Canada or if you want to stay in the United States. In both places, you can have a great life as a doctor. Um, so, what is the best way of doing that? I would say go very, very, very well in your USMLE step one, step two, and perhaps even step three. If you have some research in the US, it helps a lot. If you've been out of graduation for more than 5 years, it makes things very difficult. Very, very difficult. Some programs won't even download your application if you've been out of medical school for 5 years. Oh, and letters of recommendation. So you're going to need some sort of US clinical experience. Some places you can pay to do it. I guess if you can't find any other way, that's one way of getting it. But you're going to need some sort of letter of recommendation. Try observerships or electives. Let's go down a little bit. Okay, what is the approval rate and the number of spots for gynecology and OBS, gyn OBS? For IMGs, God, I don't remember on top of my head. It is tough. There aren't many spots, but it's tough. Somebody really doesn't not like the fact that I said that you can get millionaire as a doctor. I guess people don't understand that when your income goes up, your expenses usually go up with it. Um, you know. Anyway, um, um, let's see if there is something else nice here. So, somebody asking about transferring medical school from Brazil to Canada. I've never seen that being done. I don't think that works. Okay, I think that's enough for today. If you have more questions, why don't you ask them in the comments below? Perhaps, in a few weeks we can do another question and answer session like that when I'm at work and don't have time for something else. It's great to see you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.